Hey, if this is your first time here, I'm Rachel and I'm married to Matt. We have 5 children. They're ages 3 to 19 and this is a dream life. I'm living my dream and I want to help you live yours. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing all my best tips about how to declutter your home. So I know you've heard all the advice before, you've watched the shows on TV, you've probably seen episodes of Hoarders, and they all tell you to put away, give away, and throw away. And they tell you to have stuff that you sell and to go room by room, and they put this big plastic mat out on your front lawn and they take everything outside and you have professionals there helping you make decisions and working through those things, and then at the end of the day they put your space back together for you and it's beautiful and functional and amazing. That's great for TV, but I'm guessing you probably have kids at home and your house is probably filled to the rafters, and between keeping up on the laundry and managing the kids and making the meals and running errands and being quarantined, you likely do not have time and are super overwhelmed and wouldn't even know where to begin. So I'm going to share with you some of the ways that you can actually do this and do it successfully. I know you've probably tried to purge your home before, and you start and you're excited about it and you get a huge chunk done and then you kind of hit a block. You open up that Rubbermaid that has the sentimental items in there from family members, from your wedding, and it's just too much. It's decision overload and your brain just can't handle it anymore. Or you put it on your routine, that your schedule, that you're going to go and declutter this room on a certain day, and every week that day comes by and something always comes up to prevent you from doing it. So I want to help you to push past some of these things and figure out what's going on. So one of the things that I do to declutter my home is I look at, am I going to do this in small chunks or am I going to do this in like a big decluttering session? Some things I feel are easier for me to declutter than other things. For example, I find it easier to declutter my kitchen drawers and decide which gadgets I'm going to keep and get rid of than my bookcase full of books, because I really love books and I homeschool. So it's like a really difficult thing for me to make a decision about whether or not I'm keeping this book if it holds value for me, because they all do. So I don't know what the things are that you struggle with, but if it's something that is easy for you, so it's like the kitchen for me, then go ahead and take a chunk of time, set it aside, and just dive in there and get it done fast. Decide, what do I need, what do I love, and what's broken, what can just go, and get it done really quickly. If it is something that is super overwhelming, and like those sentimental items or whatever it is for you, then you're going to want to put it in smaller chunks. And what I mean by that is set aside like half an hour to work on it. And some people will say, oh, well, that's not going to work for me because it takes so much to motivate myself to get going, and then by the time I get into it, like if I have to stop, I just won't do it. So you need to break it down into categories. So let's just use the box of sentimental items, for example. Let's say you have a normal size Rubbermaid full of those kinds of things that are really hard decisions. So if it's too overwhelming for you to set aside half an hour to do this, I want you to set aside that half an hour anyway, and you do not have to go through the whole box. Your only goal is, I'm going to make decisions about 5 items in this box in this half an hour time slot. That's it. I only have to decide about 5 items. If 5 is too much for you, do 3. Like, make it something that you can actually wrap your head around and do. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about those sentimental items and how to make those decisions a little bit further in this video if you stay with me. Maybe you're like, okay, but I don't know where to even start. There's so many things that I need to declutter and I just am so overwhelmed I can't figure out what to work on first. And I don't have time for some big project. I just can't take on anything else right now. So one thing I do is called zones. And I learned this through a program called Mom Master University. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you've surely heard me talk about it. It's been life-changing. So this is how you set up zones. You're going to take your rooms and you're going to split them into different zones for each week. So what that looks like is zone 1 might be living room, dining room, and entrance. And zone 2 might be bedrooms and bathroom. Zone 3 might be your playroom and den or office. And zone 4 might be your outside areas, garage, sheds, deck, those kind of areas. So then each month has 4 weeks in it. I know, a little bit longer some months than others, but each week you're going to assign zone 1, 2, 3, and 4, one zone per week. Then in your routine, you can do a couple of different things. You can assign a 30-minute time slot each day of the week. I would suggest no more than 6 days a week. Or you can assign a short or longer time slot 2 or 3 times a week, whatever works better for you. Wherever you're starting, you can do something to move forward. I'm going to throw out ideas and whatever, but just take what works best for you and figure out, like, be a bit of a detective. Figure out how you can make this work, okay? You need to problem solve and not just be like, oh, that won't work for me. That's fine. How can it work for you? So just think about those things. So then you're going to go and you're going to, in that time slot, wherever you put that in your week, you're going to be like, oh, this is the second week of the month. I'm in zone 2, which is this. And then you're going to declutter some part of that room. So if it was living room, dining room, and that's the zone you were on, then maybe you've got half an hour or you've got an hour. Maybe you're just going to declutter the movies or the bookshelf. And if you can't do the bookshelf, that's fine. One shelf on the bookshelf. Okay, and then next time you're doing that zone, you can do the next shelf and the next shelf. I do recommend doing it a few times at least. I would say at least 3 times during your week, or having a larger chunk of time to work on it. If you're only doing it once a week, maybe set aside an hour so that you can actually, or even 2 hours, so that you can actually make some headway in that zone. And what this does is it rotates you through the whole house and you're constantly making progress, and you're not having to worry. If it's zone 2, you don't have to worry, oh, the basement needs to be done, or I really should, whatever, XYZ. No, you don't, because that's not assigned for this week. So you don't have to even think about that. I will sometimes set a timer for 25 or 30 minutes and go in and do my project as fast as humanly possible. You can have music in the background, whatever works for you, whatever motivates you and gets your blood pumping. Go in there, work your butt off, and then when the timer beeps, you stop. You do not have to finish. The goal is not to complete the task, the goal is to make a dent. And you can make a dent in 25 minutes, especially if you're going as hard and fast as you possibly can in that 25 minutes. If it's paper that you're dealing with, I'm actually dealing with paper this afternoon, so I'm going to follow my own advice there. If it's paper you're dealing with and it's just too much and too overwhelming, take a stack and deal with that once a week in a half an hour time slot. Or another way you can do it is deal with 10 papers a day. If you're decluttering your email, you can delete 100 emails a day, or you can delete, it only takes like 5 minutes to delete 100 emails. You can just delete 30 emails a day. Like, there are ways to do this. You just have to get creative and really figure out what's going to work. Another thing that you need to be doing is rewarding yourself. So setting up rewards for the little pieces of progress that you're making. And some of those might be, okay, if I do my 3 decluttering sessions this week, then I get to reward myself with taking a night off and just watching a movie or binge watching my favorite Netflix show. Or maybe if you finish your 25-minute decluttering project for the day, you're going to have a square of chocolate or a special coffee that you like to make. One of the things that I'm rewarding myself with for recording this YouTube video is a square of chocolate. It's sitting right there. If you see me keep looking over there, it's because it's keeping me going. It's really good, guys. So good. Anyway, so you need to have rewards for yourself. Maybe you haven't decided if you should sell things or donate them, and how do you make that decision? How long do you sit on items? I know I've struggled with this a lot over the years, and what ends up happening is I'll set a bunch of things aside to sell, and then I list them or I forget to list them, and they don't sell, and then they sit there and they sit there and they sit there, and then somebody empties the box, some child, back into the main area, and you have to start all over, and you still have this stuff everywhere. So one of my rules is it has to be a value of $20 or more for me to list it for sale, and then I'm only going to leave it up for sale for 2 to 4 weeks. If you are in a mad rush to declutter, then I would say it needs to be a higher dollar, maybe $50 or more that you're going to earn from this thing, and give it 2 weeks. And then if it hasn't sold in 2 weeks, drop the price dramatically or just donate it and don't worry about it. You cannot live your dream and have all your junk at the same time. You've got to pick one or the other. And you might not agree with me here. I'm not saying you can't own anything, but if you are overrun by stuff, it is running your life and it is preventing you from being able to pursue those things that are more important to you, those things that are going to give you a higher quality of life and really bring joy and excitement into your life. So if you're having trouble, stop and think about what your goal is, what's important to you, and that's going to help you make those decisions. If you're downsizing so that you can move into a smaller space like we did, because we just spent over 3 months living in a camper with 4 of our 5 children, then one of the rewards that you could set up for decluttering is, once I've decluttered this area, it doesn't have to be a whole room, maybe like a part of a room or something. Make it something that's like a really big challenge for you. Once you have been able to successfully declutter that space, then reward yourself by purchasing one of the larger items that you would really like to have in your RV or in your camper. Like that fancy water filtration thing. Is it a Berkey? I'll put it on the screen here. I forget what it's called, but you know what I'm saying. So you're getting rid of stuff and rewarding yourself with something that's useful and really going to make your life better. Okay, so there's another thing that I do that really helps me declutter, and it is all in here. It's all in my mindset. The word declutter is not very inspiring for me. I don't know if it is, maybe it is for you. That's fine. But the words that you use and the way you look at something, your perspective about something, really impacts your action towards it, maybe more than you even realize. So for example, I used to say, I need to clean the house. The house is a disaster. Does that make me feel like cleaning the house? No, it makes me think about how I did the dishes yesterday and I picked up all those toys like 20 minutes ago and now it's a disaster again and I have to deal with this. That's not inspiring, that's not motivating. So instead, I switched my mindset and my perspective, and I now see my home as my dream home. Doesn't matter what house you live in. Your home is your dream home, and I do not say I need to clean up this disaster. I call it dream home hour. So I'm going to spend an hour and I'm going to make my home feel so welcoming and so amazing, and I'm going to be so grateful for it. Another thing that I do, I never said I was normal, just saying. Ask my husband, oh, that poor guy. The things he hears me say. Here's an example of one. Another thing that I do, and I do this all the time, I learned this from Master University as well, is I talk to myself. And you're like, yeah, okay, people talk to themselves. This isn't new. Oh, but this is different. If I do not feel like doing my dishes or whatever project it is, and I'm just too tired, too worn out, whatever, not motivated, feeling lazy, whatever the reason, I get up and I say, future Rachel is going to be so stinking happy about this. I'm doing this for her. And when she gets up tomorrow, she's going to be so thankful. And then I do them and put them away. I finish it. And then the next morning when I get up and my kitchen's clean, I'm like, oh, past Rachel is awesome. I can't believe she did this for me. And I'll like point it out to the kids what my past self did. And I'll be like, thank you, past Rachel. Anyway, my husband, I don't know what he thinks. He doesn't really say. I think he's okay with it because the housework's getting done. I don't think he gets to choose. He either gets the stuff getting done with the weird wife, or he gets the stuff not getting done with the grumpy wife. So I think he's preferring the weird over the grumpy. I don't know. It's working. When I'm getting rid of something and I've got this thing in my hand and I'm trying to decide, do I need this? Should I get rid of this? What should I do with this? I'm going to ask myself some good questions. I'm only going to keep it if it is good quality, if it is not broken. I used to have boxes full of broken stuff, and they were the broken stuff box that I was going to fix one day. And if a piece of string fell off something, I would keep it because I might use it someday. I'm super resourceful and super thrifty and stuff, and I really love creating something beautiful out of what looks like garbage. And it delights me to no end when I'm doing a project and I can run down the basement and I have that perfect piece of hardware that I've been carting around for 15 years that would do the job just perfectly. And now, see, I didn't have to go to Home Depot to pick up the piece I need or whatever. But that actually is not serving you. Carrying around all this stuff, cleaning it up, managing it, moving it from room to room, trying to reorganize it for the 50th time in case you might need it someday. We have a fear of letting go of things, and what we don't realize is that hanging on to it is actually preventing us from being creative. It is blocking our creative power, and we're not able to relax and be creative because the space is a disaster and the stuff is everywhere. If you have a clean workspace, if your stuff is organized, then, and you know exactly what you have and where it is, and you don't have too much of it, you're much more able to have the energy to go and create something or to do that project that you want to do, that you do not have time for right now because you don't have the mental space for it, meanwhile the physical space. So when you're holding that object, ask yourself some questions. Be like, do I love this? If you do not love it, don't keep it. And you're like, well, I need it. Okay, how often are you using it? Are you using it weekly, daily, monthly? If it's something you're only using once a year, or you can't remember the last time you used it, you don't need it. Get rid of it. And if you end up needing one again in the future, you can get stuff at the drop of a hat on your doorstep, Amazon Prime, in like a day. Or you can get it on on Facebook Marketplace or whatever. Keeping it around in case you're going to use it once a year doesn't make any sense. I know that you just went to the Christmas decorations and all the other decorations. And again, I would say with those, only keep the ones that you love, like that you actually love. We have a lot of filler in our lives because it makes us feel like we have, but we don't. If we have too much stuff, we're actually not living the way that we want to be able to. Another thing that I've learned from this decluttering journey that I've been on is that it takes more than one cycle. So I've gone through the children's toys, for example, about 5 or 6 times with my kids. And we would just take out 1 or 2 categories of toys, and I would say, okay, if you can get rid of a bag full from these 2 categories, we're going to go and celebrate. And so we'd go have ice cream or whatever. And then we'd end up going through all the categories over a period of time, and then we'd go through again, and they'd realize what this did is it helped them realize what toys they actually had, and they started playing with them more and identifying what they enjoyed playing with, and it was a lot easier to store them, and they were actually feeling excited about getting rid of them because there was a reward for that. I did the same thing with my kids' drawings and artwork. I brought out a stack of artwork and we just sorted it into piles of whose it was, and then I paid them a penny. I know it's not very much, a penny for every drawing that they got rid of. So if it was a 2-sided drawing on that paper, then they would get 2 pennies. So my 7-year-old, who loves to keep everything and is excited about hanging on to everything, she earned $2. So she got rid of 200 drawings. And I mean, if there was a super cool one in there, I pulled it out and I kept it anyway. But it really helped her feel excited about this. And then she has $2 that she can do whatever she wants with. I'm going to do another video about how to figure out what's most important to you, but when you're decluttering, it's good to keep that in mind, what you really value and what you want to do in life. We have a lot of projects and things that we want to get to. We want to paint. We want to make a quilt out of our children's baby clothes. We want to build a tree house for our kids or whatever. Like, there's all these things that you want to do. But what of those things is most important to you and really pulls on your heart? You can do all the things, and Pinterest wants us to think that we can do all the things, but you cannot do all things well. You can do some things exceptionally well if you figure out what those things are and you really focus in on those and just keep the materials that you need for those few things. Forget about all this other stuff. I've had a quilt in the basement that I started, I think, 5 years ago, and it's still unfinished. Am I gonna finish it? I don't know. Maybe it should go. You do not have to finish the projects that you started. It does not matter how much time you put into it. That's another reason that we don't get rid of stuff. We're like, well, I put in 5 weeks of work into this thing and I can't just, and I never finished and I can't let it go. You can. It's going to serve you more to get rid of it than to keep it. Even if you did finish it, is that going to be more rewarding to you than letting it go and letting your brain focus on something that's more important? Another thing that keeps us from getting rid of things is, well, so-and-so bought this for me, or this is from my wedding, or I can't get rid of that because then they'll know. And I just want to talk about this for a minute because it's kind of a sore spot for a lot of us. The person who gave it to you wanted to bless you. And I know that some people, their giving is not actually to bless you. It is kind of selfish giving. They are giving it to you so that you will feel grateful towards them. And I think sometimes that's what's really going on, is we know that that person is going to be upset or angry if you get rid of it. But this is how I deal with it. I enjoy the item that they gave me for a time, and then I donate it, and if they ask about it, I say, I know that you wanted to bless me when you gave this to me, and I really enjoyed it, but I've had to make some really tough decisions about what I'm keeping because I just have too many things to manage, and I want to be able to focus on my family and spend more quality time with them. And I was finding it just too much to manage all the things. So I decided to bless someone else with the thing that you blessed me with. And they might not like that, but it's your life. So maybe they just won't give you more junk. That wouldn't be such a bad thing. And maybe letting go of that item is what's going to bless you now. And so they've been able to bless you twice with the same thing. When it came in, and when it went out. I hope this video has been helpful. I hope you've been able to really dig into some of your thoughts around what's been preventing you from decluttering your home. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and share it. Also, please take a second and subscribe. It really helps us out, and I would love to keep making these videos for you every single week. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video.